This morning we talked about USurvey. USurvey actually, whatever name it had in the past, started maybe 2-3 years ago, the whole discussion. But because we wanted that ownership, we had to actually invest a lot in really bringing government on board. A lot of changes were made, and ultimately now we are okay because it's really fully owned by government. And I'm sure seeing also Sanjana here, I cannot help thinking of the example of South Africa when you talk about finding the right entry point to engage government. When we had the data for action from EMTCT, I mean, we would have loved to just start the whole thing with a full continuum of care, what kind of tool, decentralized monitoring and planning system we need. But we were careful because government is also not always open to anything that comes just from outside. So you had to hook it onto something that government was really, at the time, really where they had the greatest needs. It was the global EMTCT plan was launched. All spotlights were on South Africa as the country with the highest disease burden. So really, for UNICEF to come in and say, we have something that might actually work. Pilot Titus, I think, I mean, too many pilots, and I'm really happy now that we're having this meeting. And I remember Omar saying last year, when we met in February here in Nairobi, he said, you know, why are we continuing to pilot after he, so the presentation on on mHealth in Uganda, it was clear that DHIS2, which is at the heart of the mHealth of the eHealth framework that we have in Uganda, is currently in more than 50 countries around the world. So you do have actually a platform that can be scaled up globally. We do have a number of these initiatives can be scaled up, and we shouldn't continue to pilot, although some may still need to be piloted. So we just say that maybe we have to be a bit more careful about what to pilot, and then really pick the ones that are ready for scale up.
Project started because there was a problem. In 2014, in Kenya, we didn't have data. For the last data collected through EMIS was in 2008. Now, what was the problem? The problem was we had a very complex, very tiresome, long process called EMIS, introduced by the UN family, which are not name any names, and it was 15, 17 pages, and it was not being completed by the ministry, by the colleague at the country level, by the school. So we decided we want to keep it simple. So we said, well, we need to do two things. And I want you to remember these two key issues. One, it's about building people to understand the system, not to introduce tools that will help people so they can use the system. It's about creating people and helping people to understand and to be able to use the system. And that's what we focused on. So we piloted in 2 counties. Then we scaled it up to 47 counties. It's a one-page system, and it is paper-based, and it's also SMS and ID-based. Now it has been scaled to 47 counties, and we have data for 2014, and we're finalizing the 2015 data. So the country has data now that can make a decision based on.
I'm going to present what we are doing in Swaziland, and for Swaziland maybe to say that we are in a learning process, and it's very good to hear the experiences from other countries. What is the initiative all about? We are using HMIS data, which is available in the Ministry of Health, and it covers over 95% of health facilities. We are availing and analyzing and presenting the data in simple format through the development of dashboards. The process started late last year after negotiations with the Ministry of Health. We started in October, and by December we were validating the dashboards. And because when this process started, we needed to consult with the managers at these different levels to ensure if they understand what is expected. And in fact, they have been meeting on a monthly basis to have their monthly meetings, and they have been coming out with decisions. So what we were introducing in this process, or in this initiative, was the use part of the data. So we agreed, and they asked us to go and develop the indicators based on the compendium or on the health strategic plan indicators. So we developed them in October, and we are targeting all the 4 regions in Swaziland.
We believe that this methodology is ready for global deployment as is, and we'll explain why. Overview of the initiative. This is based on the government's, with UNICEF support, RNMCA-H accountability framework, which provides a snapshot of how districts are performing to improve decentralized monitoring, planning, budgeting. Now we've done this through a collection of tools, all of which we have at different stages supported. Family Connect, great south-to-south collaboration. We stole this from South Africa and are very excited to scale it up. Going on some of the branding, not only taking UNICEF's logo off initiatives, we learned a valuable lesson with M-Track. There was too much affiliation with M-Track, and a project at UNICEF and the ministry last year decided to take DHIS to an M-Track and just call it EHMIS to further, again, show that government ownership. Most of these core tools are scaled nationally. We have 42,000 health workers within EHMIS that we can survey and poll.
We've developed our RMNCAH scorecard to deliver on that promise renewed, and it's got 24 indicators in Uganda. It took us about a year and a half to agree on those 24 indicators because everybody wanted their indicator in. And what we've done is to apply that RMNCAH scorecard is in the DHIS too. And the districts can see their scorecard, a health facility can see their scorecard, and they can see their scorecard mainly every month for the 24 indicators. What we are building into the DHIS2, which is very, very important, is the bottleneck analysis that should influence a discussion on the causes of the various bottlenecks so that eventually some activities can be agreed upon by the various districts and a plan developed and reviewed every quarter. So I just wanted to show you a little bit about how we've applied this further and using an indicator on pneumococcal vaccine coverage. Pneumococcal vaccines were introduced in the country quite recently, and so we know that DPT3 is doing very well. Now we're looking at an indicator that will probably be in red, so the country thought it fit to choose an indicator like pneumococcal vaccine 3 injection to the children. And for the bottleneck analysis, graphs that will be demonstrated in the DHIS dashboards, we want the health workers and the DHMTs to be able to have a conversation about whether they have the commodities. Do they have those vaccines indeed available? Do they have health workers to give these vaccinations? And do they have good access by the population? And are the children coming to receive the first dose? And then have a discussion through your report about what kind of satisfaction they experience when they come to get the vaccination.
Kenya in that group, and then Kenya.
A multi-sectoral approach to addressing stunting in Zimbabwe. The government had prioritized addressing stunting at the subnational levels, and we took that opportunity to make sure that the near real-time monitoring component and the technology was embedded within that program. I think we heard earlier from Omar that you have to start off with a good program design, and that's what we invested in first, and then integrated the innovation into that. So the overall, again, objective of our initiative is to ensure that there's gathering, visualization, and utilization of near real-time data for multi-sectoral responses towards stunting reduction in Zimbabwe. We started last May with developing the full system and supporting our Food and Nutrition Council, and then making sure that we had embedded it within an existing system that they were trying to create. For years, they were trying to come up with an integrated food and nutrition security information system, and as UNICEF, we were able to provide that support. Our main challenge has been uploading the data without sector verification. Some of the other sectors didn't quite understand initially how their sector data would come into this integrated system and how the verification processes would happen.
And one of the things in South Africa that we were facing is that we had high coverage. Almost every indicator was showing over 80%, over 90%. Yet, we were not able to meet the targets for maternal deaths, newborn deaths, under 5-child deaths, and other targets. And so, the idea was focused on quality. And the whole issue around program effectiveness, which is a measure of your coverage, but also a measure of your quality. And from there, we grew on to how do we make this happen, and how does it happen right down at ground zero. Now, the 3 feet sort of acronym, or the word, comes from the Minister of Health. And it was something that, as UNICEF, they're talking about entry points and maximizing opportunities. And that's exactly what we did. The Minister of Health in South Africa spoke about going from 30,000, which is policy level, having the most fantastic documents, strategies, guidelines, and not letting it happen or actual action at 3 feet. So how do you take 30,000 to 3 feet? Capitalizing on that sort of whole idea of the 3 feet, we then made use of our experience with the earlier work we had done with our PMTCT program and other programs, and designed the entire work to take care of the whole continuum.
One of the things that we identified from a technical level is that there's a lot of technological advancement that has been made that enables us to use as an organization. And furthermore, as UNICEF, we've made considerable investments in these technologies, and they're readily available for us to use. Secondly, we already have evaluation tools and frameworks out there that we're currently using that are very much compatible with tools that we can also be aligning with. As UNICEF, we're seen as the front runners when it comes to using innovative technologies and processes for furthering results for children. So we can use this type of reputational strength to continue building on and synthesizing ways of doing better real-time monitoring. So what do we need? The first thing that the group actually identified was throughout our discussions, there was a lot that we were learning. There was a lot of similarities in things that we were trying to achieve. So some type of a center of excellence for discussing this would be very beneficial to us both on an organization and on a regional level.
Our group, we also looked across to say among the 7 outcomes of the strategic plan, which areas don't we have any real-time monitoring that seems to have a good system. And we found that in one area, social inclusion, and then also in child protection, we probably don't have very sound systems. Health, water, sanitation, education seem to be okay. So what are the challenges that these other systems, why are we having challenges in those areas? And we found that a lot of the data that is generated there is not quantitative. So maybe there is a need to look at how we develop systems that allow that kind of generation of data that helps programs make decisions.
If we look at, we've seen that DHIS2 is already in place in about 50 countries, but as Sean was presenting this morning, DHIS2 does only like about 10% of what we would like it to do. We have the bottleneck analysis, which is being developed separately. We have USurvey, the social accountability tool, which is outside DHIS, although DHIS2 allows for all these things to be connected. Wouldn't it be great if we had if DHIS2 was improved to bring together all these different elements that we have developed over the last few years in countries? That's one. The biggest gap is, of course, education. And I think we've been told this morning why we're not advancing as fast, that EMIS is a closed system. There isn't an open source database that you have with DHIS. It's not, we don't have the equivalent, basically, in education. What does it take to have the equivalent of DHIS2 for education and to have it as an improved version of all the different elements?
To sum up, we'll take us back to where we started this morning, the framework that Elias presented. Why are we doing this? We what are we looking for? What is the information for? And assume that we've developed our program. We've designed a good program. We've done bottleneck analysis. We've developed a program that is very much supportive of the government plan, the bigger sector plan. Yes, there is a theory of change at sector level, but we need also theory of change. How are we contributing to the objectives and goals of the sector? So let's say that we've done that analysis, we've designed our program. It's based on, of course, the situation analysis that we have done using data that are collected from surveys and so on. So what happens now? What happens is that, okay, we start implementing. We wait 5 years until we get another DHS or mix or we do evaluation. And we may find out that we've been hitting that spot without knowing where we were going. So what we're saying is that we don't want to wait until the end of the country program. We want to see the path that we are taking to change is the right path. If we find that we are going to the wrong direction, so we can come back. And what do we need for? We need information at 2 levels. We need information at the level of the implementation, the level of the inputs that we are putting in, and the outputs that it's producing, or the inputs of other partners that we are counting on are putting in, to produce outputs that combined with the outputs that we produce will get us into